We have finally reached the Europa League final for 2025 after so many predictions, so many league phase games, crazy knockout stage games, some very unexpected semifinals. We have finally reached the final match between Tottenham Hotspur and Manchester United. Whoever wins this match will be the winners of the 2025 Europa League, and with both of these teams having such a poor season domestically, at least this trophy may salvage something for next season. In today's video, I'm going to be looking at both of these teams' seasons so far, looking at each of their Europa League campaigns individually, and giving you guys my final predictions on the 2025 Europa League final. So without further ado, let's get right into this prediction. Before I start talking about both of these teams individually, I have to address the elephant in the room. Both of these teams have had an absolutely woeful season in the Premier League. They currently sit in 16th and 17th place. Both of these teams are in what you could call a relegation battle, and it's crazy to think that these are the two teams that are going to be coming up against each other in the Europa League final. Arguably the two worst teams in the Premier League have a chance to win one of Europe's most decorated trophies in the next match. At the current time of recording this video, Manchester United sit in 16th place, and in their 36 games played so far, they have only won 10 games, but Tottenham, sitting a place below Man United, have only won 11. But if you look at how these teams have been performing throughout this whole Europa League campaign, they have been much better. I'm going to start by talking about Tottenham because I think they have been the poorer of the two teams, especially if you look at their current form in the Premier League. Tottenham have only won one game since February. That is 3 months, and they've only won one game, and it was against last place Southampton. That is the only game that Tottenham have won in the last 3 months. That's absolutely horrible. Now, obviously, Tottenham have suffered a lot of injuries this season, and even though recently we have seen some of these players come back to playing regular game time, they still do have a few major injuries like Dragusin, James Maddison, and especially Dejan Kulusevski. So I think this does hinder them a little bit in this final match. If we look at Tottenham so far throughout this Europa League, I think they've actually been performing pretty well. If we go back to the league phase, they finished in 4th place. And even though they maybe had a little bit of struggle at the start of that campaign, they did end up finishing pretty well, and that caused them to skip right through the playoff stage. Then in the knockout stages, Tottenham's first big test was against AZ Alkmaar. They did lose that first leg game 1-0. But in the second leg, they did end up coming back, winning 3-1 to advance into the quarterfinals. Now, in the quarterfinals, it was a much bigger test for Tottenham as they were coming up against Frankfurt. But in my opinion, they looked much more confident than they did against AZ Alkmaar. Now, in the first leg, the result didn't really go their way and it finished 1-1. But in the second leg, they did end up beating Frankfurt at home 1-0 to advance into the semifinals. Now, on paper, their semifinal matchup was definitely the easiest out of the other few knockout stage matches because Bodo Glimt have a much lower squad value than that of the other teams. But we all know how good Bodo Glimt were, especially at home, and they were a very underrated team. But Tottenham made light work of it, winning 3-1 at home and also winning 2-0 away to advance into the final match. Now, moving on to Manchester United, if we look at their Europa League campaign, I think they have been very underrated, and they have probably been the best team so far in this Europa League. In the group stage, it didn't start off the best for Man United, but in the end, they did finish in 3rd place, having lost 0 games in the group stage. They were the only team that did not lose a game, which was very impressive. Moving into the knockout stages, Manchester United were arguably the most entertaining team. So many goals scored. All the games they played were very interesting. In the first matchups against Real Sociedad, the first leg did finish in a 1-1 draw, but in the second leg with the home advantage, Man United were easily able to win that game 4-1 to advance into the quarterfinals. Now, in the quarterfinals, we all remember how crazy the games were against Lyon. In the first leg, it did finish in a 2-2 draw, and in the second leg, we saw that crazy 5-4 win for Man United where it was back and forth, so many goals, but in the end, they did get it done to advance into the semifinals. Now, in the semifinals, I thought that Athletic Club were going to be Man United's biggest test because obviously the final match is being played at San Mamés Stadium, which is Athletic Club's home stadium. So with that advantage and with all their fans cheering them on, I thought that this was going to be very tough for Man United. But they made light work of Athletic Club, winning 3-0 away, 4-1 at home, and 7-1 on aggregate to advance to the final match. But if we look at Man United's Premier League form, they have also been on horrible form within the last few months, and their last win came 2 months ago against Leicester, who are another relegation team. So similarly to Tottenham, Man United in the Premier League have been so poor, so far below their standard, and honestly it has been a horrible season for both of these teams. Now, what makes things worse for Man United is if we look at their head-to-head, these teams have already come up against each other 3 times this season, and Tottenham have won every single game. In the first game in the Premier League, Tottenham won 3-0 against Man United. In the second game in the EFL Cup, Tottenham beat Man United 4-3, and in their most recent Premier League meeting, Tottenham won 1-0, making it 3 out of 3 wins against Man United this season. Now, obviously, in their first meeting, Ruben Amorim wasn't the manager yet for Man United, and it was still Erik ten Hag. And in the second meeting in the EFL Cup, Man United were definitely the better team and should have definitely won that game. But I would say that Tottenham were a little bit lucky to have won that game. But in their most recent matchup, Tottenham were clearly the better team. They had a very dominant performance over Man United, and I think that should scare Man United fans a little bit in this matchup. But Tottenham in recent Premier League matches have been so poor defensively, and they have been conceding a lot of goals. We saw them concede 4 against Wolves, they conceded 5 goals against Liverpool, and they also conceded another few goals against Nottingham Forest and Crystal Palace. And I think this works out perfectly for Man United because in recent fixtures, they've been scoring a lot more goals than they were earlier on in the season. We saw them in the Europa League against Athletic Club and against Lyon, and even in the Premier League against teams like Brentford, where they have been scoring much more goals. Some of their attackers have come back from injury, like Amad Diallo, and we've seen a lot of their young players perform very well in recent matches. Now, similar to Tottenham, they don't have the results to show for this, but in recent matches, some of their players have been performing much better, and we do see some good things coming out of the squad. Now, Man United do have a few injuries coming into this game. Obviously, Xerxes and Martinez are out for the rest of the season, but there also are a few other players with slight injuries like Lenny Yoro and Diogo Dalot, who may also miss this game, which would be a little bit of a miss for Man United. But in my opinion, I actually think that they have the advantage over Tottenham in this game. Man United have already played at San Mamés Stadium in the semi-finals against Athletic Club, and obviously with that advantage of already having played there and winning at that stadium, I think this provides a big advantage over Tottenham. But also with Tottenham's poor defensive performances recently and Man United's attackers performing pretty well in recent games, we've seen goals from Amad Diallo, Garnacho, and even Mason Mount. I think that they could possibly score multiple goals against this Tottenham side. Obviously, both of these teams need this win to salvage something from this poor season that both of them are having. And in my opinion, I do think Man United will be able to win this game. I think both of these teams are going to score multiple goals in this game, and I actually think it's going to be a very entertaining Europa League final. But I think Man United will win the Europa League. They will be able to salvage a trophy from this horrendous season that they're having, and I think Man United will win this game 3-2. And that is the end of this video. Those were my Europa League final predictions in 2025. I think Man United will be the winners of the Europa League. They've been here before, they've won it before, and I think they're going to win it again. If you guys agree with my final prediction, remember to leave a comment down below. But if you disagree with my prediction and you think Tottenham are going to beat Man United, remember to leave your prediction down below, and I'll be sure to reply to every single comment. If you guys are excited for my Conference League final prediction and my Champions League final prediction, remember to leave a like on this video. And obviously, if you did enjoy this prediction, remember to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and stay tuned for more videos.